Hello and welcome back. In this video, we will examine the results of the 8 Kumite drafts which were held at the beginning of the 2022-23 season. The main purpose of running these Kumites is to A. include more poolers in a draft, and B. run longer drafts. Our goal is to encourage the various people and publications to produce longer lists so that they can participate in multiple Kumites. Like the Battle of the Hockey Pool guides, the Kumites are a points-only draft. The draft order is randomly assigned, and the order of selection will reverse or snake back every other round. There are no positional restrictions. Every player drafted counts towards the total for the team, and we have removed all known retired, non-active NHL, and long-term injury players from the lists. Inclusion into a Kumite was based on the total number of player projections. We had enough entrants to produce 8 Kumites. As we go through each draft, we will follow this pattern, displaying the randomly selected draft order showing how many predictions were needed to participate, showing the results comparing how each publication did relative to their draft position, and showing the final standings, but also illustrating how they did versus their own projections. We start off with the Kumite 12. In order to participate, a guide needed to have produced a list of at least 683 players. This resulted in a draft of 768 players over 64 rounds. Dobber Hockey was the winner as they cruised to victory. They succeeded drafting from 4th overall. Second place went to Evolving Hockey, who drafted in the 3rd spot, and third went to the biggest climber, Ultimate Pool Preview. The final standings are more clearly visible on this slide. Notice that the winners were as badly off of their predictions as most of the other participants. The winner is not necessarily the closest. Evolving Hockey came closest to their own predicted score, but still ended up in 3rd. We move over to the Kumite 16 now, where a list of 657 player projections was needed in order to participate. This draft went 49 rounds and a total of 784 players were selected. Pool Hockey strikes again, earning another title in the 2022-23 season. Pool Hockey selected from the 11th position too. The top 3 teams, Pool Hockey, Fantasy Puck, and Yahoo, were separated by 33 points. It was Yahoo who came closest to the predicted point total, and they even drafted with the 5th overall pick, but the best they could do was 3rd place. Moving over to the Kumite 20, a list of 577 was needed in order to partake in this draft, which was about 170 more than the previous season. This draft went 38 rounds long, and a total of 760 players were picked, and it was Evolving Hockey who was the winner. Dobber Hockey failed to secure the victory, but managed to hang on to 2nd. One of the largest gains came from Don Lucian to claim 3rd. The closest predicted total did belong to Evolving Hockey. The interesting note here is Dobber Hockey's projections for themselves, which were off by so much, yet they finished in 2nd place. For the Kumite 24, a guide needed 531 predictions to participate, almost 200 more than last year. The winner was Evolving Hockey again. Back-to-back titles. They may have found a sweet spot. This draft was 28 rounds long and a total of 672 players were taken. A newcomer, TBFHL, nabbed 2nd, and Dobber Hockey earned 3rd place with a huge jump after drafting from the 23rd spot. Both Evolving Hockey and TBFHL were close to their projected outcomes, but the closest guide to their prediction for their own team was #Hockey. Unfortunately for them, they placed way down at 22nd of 24 teams. A list of 403 players lets you in to play in the Kumite 28 this season. This time Steve's cheat sheet was good enough to win the prize. The slate keeper, also known as the hockey economist, placed 2nd, and Dom Luszczyszyn found a way to stay in third even though they had the first overall pick. I failed to note that the Kumite 28 went 18 rounds and a total of 504 players were selected. It seems that with more participants and fewer rounds, the predicted scores are trending closer to the actual outcomes. Having more participants to spread the misses might be the real reason for the closer predictions. The Kumite 32 is next, and a list of 353 was needed to be able to play in it. This draft lasted 15 rounds and a total of 480 players were taken. After sniffing around the other Kumite belts, this time Dom Luszczyszyn came out on top. Fresh Eats took second place, which is yet another participant who had the first overall pick but fell down one spot. Unfortunately for them, they had to share second with TBFHL, who actually drafted with the second overall pick. The Slate Keeper was just a few points shy of overtaking second place for themselves, and they were only 18 points off from their predicted outcome. I don't know if that is something that would make someone feel better or feel worse though. What surely is worse is to be so close to the projection and still end up at the bottom of the pack, like #hockey again. For the Kumite 36, a list of 297 players allowed a guide to challenge for the title. This draft was 13 rounds and had a total of 468 players selected. It should come to no one's surprise that the guide with the first overall pick, Datsuk to Zetterberg, won the belt by almost 100 points. Evolving Hockey claimed second place and CBS Fantasy took third. Once again, the top finishers tended to have actual scores which were closer to their predicted results. However, that in itself did not guarantee success. There were many others which came close to their projections but did not place so high in the standings. I was pleasantly surprised at the beginning of the season to be able to run our first Kumite 40 draft. As it turned out, a list of 295 players was all that was needed. This draft lasted 12 rounds for a total of 480 player selections. And the guide with the first overall pick, this time Fantasy Puck, took the prize, but it was much closer. Steve Laidlaw, who drafted from the 10th position, was only 10 points back to finish in second place. Dom L rounded out the top three and was only 21 points behind the leader. Considering they did so, drafting with the 36th overall pick was impressive. The results for the lists closer to the top seemed to come closer to their predicted outcomes. Does that mean that their lists were similar to each other? The answer to that is no. What it does mean is that with only 12 selections, they couldn't afford to have any bad picks. So what's the difference between Fantasy Puck, Dauber Hockey, and Lineup Experts? I chose these three lists because they were between 42 to 48 points below their predictions, a very small range. They ended up with respective 1st, 5th, and 8th place finishes, but 8th place was well behind 5th by 45 points and 73 points behind 1st. To be so close and yet so far. I asked earlier, would this make someone feel better or worse? Would excuses such as Fantasy Puck only won because they had Connor McDavid, or they had the advantage of having first pick, it's the only reason why they won, and the like, would be hypothetically declared from all the other participants? To summarize all our winners, our red belt went to Fantasy Puck, our white belt winner was Datsuk to Zetterberg, the gray belt was earned by Dom Luszczyszyn, the black belt went to Steve's cheat sheet, the winner of the brown and purple belts was Evolving Hockey, the orange belt was Pool Hockey, and the blue belt winner was Dauber Hockey. It wasn't just the two belts earned, but several other top finishes, which gave Evolving Hockey the edge and the title of the Kumite's deeply prized guide for the 2022-23 season. Congratulations to them. They narrowly edged out Dom L, who was last year's recipient of this award. We acknowledge that these Kumites are just one outcome in many, many, many millions of possibilities, which is why we still have the Battle of the Hockey Pool guides to run through. Will those outcomes validate the results from the Kumite?
Or will someone else earn the title of Battle of the Hockey Pool Guides champion? Stay tuned to find out.